Azerbaijan's present takes on Azerbaijan's future here. With the white pieces, we have the Shak attack, Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, and with black, we have Aydin Suleymanli. Shakhriyar plays d4 and Aydin plays knight f6, and we have the Trompowsky. Aydin is not at all surprised and plays his pawn to d5, e3 played. Shak is known for his very weird style of chess, creative way of playing chess, and Aydin, who is the young upcoming talent of Azerbaijan, counters it in a very classical fashion, developing his pieces, controlling the center, and so on. In terms of the battle that we see here, one can say that this is something like Vishy Anand taking on Pragnananda or Gukesh in India, because Mamedyarov is an absolute legend in Azeri chess. By the way, the bishop is attacked. You can drop it back, which would be a good move. But instead, he takes, pawn takes, and now the structure is a bit ruined here for black. And look at that. Mamedyarov goes in with his queen. And what does Aydin do? He's ready with his move. So quickly. He's hovering around the rook and plays rook g8. Maybe his idea is bishop to g4. So for example, if you go knight f3, already bishop g4 is uncomfortable. So Mamedyarov plays h3 to stop that move. But already one can start feeling that what is the queen doing here? This is not weak. This is not weak. The queen is a bit weirdly placed. And look at Aydin playing in the center, right in the center of the board. Fantastic chess, hitting there. And now what does Shakhriyar do? He long castles. Well, for Mamedyarov, it's like if he said A, he must say B and then C, and the game will get very exciting. Now, what does black do here? Aydin puts his queen on b6 and tells Mamedyarov that I am not afraid of your slight lead in development. I'm not even afraid that my king is in the center. I've just put my queen here. It's well positioned. And he takes on e5. I think you just take back fe5. Look at that beautiful center here. Now the knight develops, attacking here, and bishop e6. Very nice move, because if you take this pawn, I have rook g5 with a double attack. So that does not work at all. So Mamedyarov's move, which was knight f3, didn't have a threat, and Aydin actually called it out. King b1 played. Now still this is not hanging, so you don't have to worry. Rook g5 is still a possibility there. So maybe it's time to long castle. Aydin brings his hand towards his king. And yes, he long castles as well. Look at black's position, guys. Strong center, bishop pair, rook on the open file, queen nicely placed, king very safe. What does Mamedyarov have out of the opening? That's the reason why the position is utterly lost. This pawn was hanging, so he goes and defends it with his queen. Now bishop c5 makes a lot of sense, because you are looking at the f2 square, which is very difficult to defend. In fact, it's just a free pawn there. And Aydin has touched his bishop, it seems, but he goes the full distance. He goes bishop a3. And his idea is very simple, checkmate in one. Knight b3 comes to block the check. Okay, the bishop is now hanging, so it has to move back. Also bishop c5 no longer possible, as the knight will take the bishop. So he goes d4. Whoa, what a move. Because if you take here, then Aydin wants to take here, check, king c1, and d takes c3 with a winning attack. So clearly that cannot be taken. Mamedyarov pushes his pawn to c4. And now the bishop comes back, hitting the queen on h4. The queen has to move again. But where does the queen go? Queen goes to h5. Shakhriyar, of course known for his trappy style of play, will have to come up with something clever here. Aydin pushes his pawn to f5. Slowly he wants to push e4 as well. But look at this move. Now he's attacking the bishop. The bishop needs to be saved. And I think a logical move now is to drop the bishop back to f7. Aydin, does he play that? He brings his hand near the bishop and plays it to f7. It's a good move. And if given time, Black would love to push his pawn to e4, then to d3, then all of the white pieces are just very, very passive. He goes h4. He goes h4, and now if you play e4, notice that the d4 pawn is not hanging because I have 1, 2 and 3 defenders. So let's go e4. Aydin now down to 3 minutes 36 seconds and he pushes his pawn to e4. Well done. This is a good move. And somehow you need to make a move. Like if you play a move like c5, then just bishop c5 loses that pawn. So he goes knight g5. That was the idea of the h4 move that was played. Knight is now attacking the bishop. Do you want to take this? Rook h8 played. Again, I love this move. Fantastic move here. Queen is attacked, and with queen g7 now, Aydin gets his bishop to h5 square. Yes, with this, he attacks the rook. If the rook is moved away somewhere, then already the queen is trapped on g8, g7. So g4 played here. The game is getting very, very exciting, but not really for Mamedyarov fans because Aydin is simply crushing him. He's once again attacked his rook. And what do? I think Shakhriyar really needs to pay focus on this rook g8 queen trap, and that's why he goes bishop h3. And his point is, if you take here, maybe he'll just first take and then take on d1, but that's also winning for black. So actually Aydin has many options, but he takes on h4, which is also a nice move. It's a fantastic move. He's brought his rook in, defending his bishop. But now the queen is not going to be trapped here. He goes rook to g1, and maybe now the safest way is to take on h3. That is the safest move. But Aydin doubles, and this is not a good idea because now after rook g4 takes, in comes a very nice move. Take, bishop g4, and I take here, and white has some chances there. But instead he goes knight f7, and I think rook h7 is a nice move by Aydin Suleymanli. He says to Mamedyarov that I'm attacking your queen. Also your bishop can't move because it's pinned here on h1. Check. King c7 played. And now what does Mamedyarov do? He's losing a piece here. He needs to make a move. Bishop g2 is a very sad move. Not at all in the style of Mamedyarov. He goes knight g5. Takes on g5. Queen takes on g5. But now can we simply not win a piece here with rook takes h3? That's exactly what has been done. Piece up position for Aydin. Rook takes h3. And now you can take with the bishop. But well, why not with the rook? He takes with the rook. Wow. Mamedyarov down to 17 seconds. But so is Aydin. Both under in seconds. And black king is slightly exposed. So will there be some... Oh, he sacrifices his rook for the bishop. He's now a full rook down. Aydin takes here on g4. Queen f4 check. Now you can't go to b8. That's covered. c8, d8 possible. But the moment you go to d8, the problem is that there's another check. Queen f8 check. So Aydin needs to move again. Careful. King d7 is met with knight c5. And you have literally 7 seconds. He needs to repeat. He needs to go back to c7. Good move. Queen f4. If you go back king c8, there's queen g4 check and you lose the rook. So only move knight e5. Finds it with 9 seconds. Giving up a piece to then bring in the queen. He's still an exchange up. And he still has an extra pawn. So pawn and an exchange. 3 points up here for black. That was a very smart decision by Aydin. Go back queen d7, Aydin. Don't move your king. No, he moves his king. Now queen takes g4 check. Well, maybe there's queen d7, so it's not so bad. What a move by Mamedyarov. Knight takes d4. The knight is coming into the game, but I don't think that's a great idea. Because here, he goes rook h4. Oof. Rook h4 played here by Suleymanli. Maybe not the best. And now a3. It seems like white's queen and knight make a very deadly combo here. a6 played. Maybe king a2. Just tuck your king away. Is a great idea. But with 7 seconds, he gives a check. Queen goes back. He gives another check. King moves to the side. And now there's no check there. 4 seconds for Mamedyarov. He gives another check. Maybe just tuck the king into the corner on a8. Aydin has 26 seconds. What is he thinking? Let's go. Let's go. He goes king a8. King goes to a2. Now, can you keep your nerves here? Aydin Suleymanli, the youngster here, hardly 17 years old, and he's playing so well. Queen d5 played. And now, how do you continue? He brings his rook to h7. He's kept his edge. He's not dropped it. Knight b3 played. And now, what a beautiful move there, e3. With this, he creates a g passer. That's so nice, and puts his rook behind the passed pawn. Fantastic chess. Knight goes to the center of the board, but somehow the knight and queen are just not coordinating. Meanwhile, black's pawn is pushing through. Knight goes back to e2. Aydin needs to push another pawn. g2 seems like a very good move. He goes queen g8, offering a trade of queens. Of course, you don't want to trade the queens. Queen goes back to d4, and now time to push another pawn. He pushes. Knight comes to g1. So it's all very passive. And now Aydin brings his rook to g4. Pawn is pushed forward. The rest should be easy. Queen e8, attacking the e4 pawn here, and he brings his queen to f2. Take the pawn. Take the pawn, queen e4. There's no perpetual. Check here, king here, check here. I can go b6 and then queen b7. No, he goes queen c6, check, king f8, check. And now will Aydin block? Yes, he blocks it. Queen b6 played. c5 pawn pushed forward. Queen e6 played with a check, b3, and now the queen goes to c6. Cool move, knight e2 played, and now Aydin just wants to move his king. Yeah, plays his king to b8. Maybe there's a check here to gain some time. Mamedyarov pushes his pawn to e5, but that's a blunder because now you can queen. Look at Aydin, he pushes the pawn, makes a queen, and Mamedyarov resigns because knight g1 is met with rook g2 and your queen drops.